Let's read the next paragraph and then we will explain. Liturgy is not a matter of what we please. In the event of the golden calf, chapters 32 to 33 of the book of Exodus, we see Israel falling away from the worship of God into idolatry because in their minds they could not cope with the invisible, remote, and mysterious God. They want to bring him down into their own world, into what they can see and understand. Worship is no longer going up to God, but drawing God down into one's own world. In a sense, they are saying, God must be there, meaning the golden calf. God must be there when he is needed, and he must be the kind of God that is needed. God must be there when he's needed, and he must be the kind of God that is needed. Man is using God, and in reality, even if it is not outwardly discernible, man is placing himself above God. So this is what happens in worship. And believe me, we Christians are not exempted from this basically falsehood. So, God reveals himself, and of course he gives us the capacity to know him. But worshiping God always requires sacrifice. Okay? Sacrifice, and we see ultimately Jesus Christ doing that. And he's telling all of us, take up your cross every day and follow me. So in every form of sacrifice, meaning following truth, worship, there will be persecution from the evil one. There will be persecution from those who don't want God at the center of our world. But also, not only that, but from our side, because of our weaknesses, we look at worship, truth, God, instructions over here, and oftentimes it is difficult for us to follow. So what we do is we do what the Israelites did. Moses is on the mountain. He's doing things with his God. We don't understand that. So let us take from what we have, our gold, and create an idol. And create God. Now this God we have created is not a God for whom we follow. Why? Because he's a God of our own making. In other words, it's not man made in the image of God, but now God made in the image of man. You see that? So man in his own thinking creates a God who is needed when he is there, and the kind of God that is needed. Meaning, the God who will agree with me. How often do you hear today people say, well, this is between me and my God. Even if what I'm doing is contrary to what the church teaches, I don't care. This is between me and my God. No, it's not between you and your God. It's between you and your golden calf. Okay? It's not the God of Jesus Christ. It's a God who you lead and follows you. It's a God who rubber stamps everything you want to do. Hence, that kind of God will never accuse you of sin. Will never call you to responsibility. Why? Because I set the agenda. And God follows. But that's not God. That's a golden calf. And so, it's always very easy to create these golden calves, even within the context of our Christian leaders. So, sometimes you go to Catholic churches, like us today, we follow, like in this country, we follow the Roman Rite. Okay? And we said earlier, what is a rite? We have rites. Like this book here. The Missal. Okay? This is the book the priest uses. You see priests changing these words to suit their political, social agendas. Whether it's a word, they change it to something else, whatever, okay? Things like that. But a rite, these books you see here, these books you see here, Okay, priest and the people cannot be the approving authority. No. In other words, I cannot start celebrating Mass, and then you are there, and then I say, well, I saw this in China, it's good, let's do it. I'm not the approving authority. Okay? The church has her rights, which are approved by the magisterium, okay? In the practice of, approved the practices in the administration of sacrifice. The importance of this is that the rite unfolds the mystery. So if you mess with rite, you are messing with mystery. And so we don't do with liturgy, with rites any way we want. But what do we see today? Not everybody, even many may not be the majority, but in many cases, you find people, priests, just making up things as they go along. So you go to a church and you wonder whether this is the Roman rite. Like I attended a funeral, and this priest made up almost everything about the funeral liturgy. Everything was made up. It was not there in the funeral rites of the church. I said, my God. But he did it because he knew that people didn't know. So you can do whatever you want to do. So what happens there is that the priest and the people are creating a golden calf, and they are worshipping their calf, golden calf, which has nothing to do with the worship of the living God. They will go to our church, everybody is happy, Priest says, you're very good people. The people feel good about themselves, And we go home. No gospel challenge. Okay? Because the truth must always challenge us. We are never where we are supposed to be. So there has to be a constant challenge. But no challenge. Why? Because people may be offended. So what do? Just say things without saying anything. So that everybody goes away happy. As you know the principle, if you want to please everyone, you annoy everyone. We should never be delusional. Who am I to ever think that I can please everyone? Who can please everyone? No, who can please everyone? Who? No. Imagine it. Even God cannot please everyone. Even God cannot do it. It's so amazing. Humans are mysterious, okay? Even God cannot please everyone. Why? We know that Jesus didn't please everyone. He did good for everyone, but he didn't please everyone. Otherwise, if he pleased everyone, they wouldn't crucify him. So, if Jesus couldn't please everyone, who am I to think that I can please everyone? Unless I'm so delusional. But unfortunately, some of us try to do that, so that everybody goes away more happy. So that kills the faith. Because in the end, it's no longer about why do we go to, for example, let's look at Mass. Why do we go to Mass? Precisely, what do we go? Why do we go? We go because we are in need of God. Oftentimes we think that we go to do things for God. No. Even in worshiping God, God is offering everything. All we do, everything we do is a response to what God is doing. So we go to receive from God. Because there is nothing God needs from me. As we always say, the best thing about our calling in God is that God doesn't need us. That's the best thing about my Christian calling. God does not need me. In other words, God didn't call me because he wanted to use me for something, or he needed me for something. No. God does not need me. To show you that, you can kill me now, and the world could be a better place without me. Okay? So God doesn't need me. God loves me. Love brings us into existence. Not that God needs us, because he doesn't, but because God loves us. And so it is that love that brings us to our God, and we constantly receive love from him. So everything we do is a response to what God offers us. Do we serve God? Do we serve God? You hear people say, I want to be an extraordinary minister, to serve God. I want to be an usher to serve God. Do we serve God? You want to be an altar server? Do we serve God? You hesitate. Do we serve God? Yes, we do. But we must understand what it is. What is to serve God? One saint put it well. Yes, we serve God, and indeed, we are called to do it. It's our duty. Okay? We always say that in the preface. It is our duty and our salvation, always and everywhere, to give you thanks. We will explain that later. It's so profound. Okay? So, to serve God is to
be saved.
To be so that is what serving God is. To serve God is to be saved by him. Even in what we call serving God, we are the ones who are receiving salvation. Because God doesn't need my service per se. Okay? It adds nothing to his greatness. It subtracts nothing to his greatness. But when I serve him, I am being saved. Okay? Now, does that help? Yes, it helps. Again, we call that God's extrinsic glory. Because when creatures do what God intended them to do, then God's outside glory, extrinsic glory, is increased. When we don't do what we are supposed to do, his extrinsic glory becomes blurred. But his intrinsic glory is always full and complete. Okay? So as we serve God, we are being saved. So that should be ingrained deep in our mind, in our brains, so that we don't put money in the basket and think, God, I treated you, so now what? Let's take a break.